CVE Gaming.
Read the video description for more information.
Hello everyone, my name is CVE Bird and I am with CVE Rims. Welcome to another video. This is podcast number 3. It's been a while, I know it's been a very long time, but we are back. When me and Rims were always discussing doing these podcasts, we didn't really want these podcasts to be things that we kind of just kept on coming out with. We wanted to come out with them when we felt like we had something that we really wanted to share with the community or speak about or give our opinion on it. And now is the right time to do that. As you can see, this video is called What Makes You Different. And for me, I've always seen this in Killer Instinct and every kind of fighting game. And we'll kind of speak about difference and a whole lot of things in this video. But I first want to start off by saying there's a lot of people who play Killer Instinct and they're playing Killer Instinct or any fighting game to be solid and to be good. But they want to be solid and good off other people's hard work and other people's findings. I came from a time, the arcade time, when you either had to buy a magazine to find out what the moves a character could do were, or potential combos, or just strategies. Not even really combos, just strategies. Or you had to watch people's hands in the arcade and just try and figure out what they were doing. And you had to learn on the fly. There was no training mode, there was no practice mode when I used to play fighting games. Rims is a little bit younger, so you know he don't know that struggle, but basically that's where I came from. So I've got a very different mentality. Like, I'm somebody that didn't really use practice mode. I only use it now because I was so used to just learning as I played the game. And some people still do that. But for me, I see a lot of players and they're not different. They may be okay, or they may be quite strong, but there's nothing different about them. So for example, let me just say, and this is no offense to Jago players, but I will see a lot of Jago players and there is nothing different about this Jago player from another Jago player. But yet you will see somebody who plays Jago and they stand out and they're like, wow, that's an amazing Jago player. And then what happens is you have all these people who see this great player, and then what they do is, rather than looking at that player and being inspired to create their own tech, to create their own lane and create their own unique way of playing with that character, they'll copy like Gutter Magic's Thunder, or they'll copy Rico Suave's Thunder, or they'll copy somebody else's Jago, because they want to be solid. They don't want to be, as a lot of Americans say, have their ass handed to them. They don't want to do that. They want to be solid, they want to be good. But a lot of people want to be spoon-fed stuff. So for example, you can have Cinder out, and the first thing a lot of people will do is look for Cinder combo videos and Cinder strategy videos. And you might say there's nothing wrong with that, and to some degree there isn't. But the problem is that in order for there to be a Cinder strategy video or a Cinder combo video, somebody had to sit down, look at that game, look at that character and say, how have the game programmers and people that made this game, how do I think they're telling me this character should be played? And what is it this character can do from its core? And now what do I think I can do with my creative ability in mind right now? And they run with it, and then they create these combo videos showing bread and butter combos or strategy to how you should kind of look at each matchup, most matchups. Somebody had to put that hard work in so that people that maybe can't look at a game like that, or maybe they're just blatantly lazy, you have to wait for somebody else to be creative before you can start your gameplay of that character or journey with that character. And with me, I've kind of more been about, I feel that a lot of people should learn to be creative rather than just to copy and paste. And it just seems that a lot of people, they just see it as cool to not be different, and they wonder why they can only get to a certain player level and then they never go any higher.
Yeah, just to follow on from that, I'm going to tell a story of back when I used to play Street Fighter, and it relates greatly to the title of this topic, or what makes you different. I used to face a Ryu player, and he was a good Ryu player, don't get me wrong, but it got to a point where I could just run around the cast and still beat him. And he must have sent me a message one day and he was like, what am I doing wrong? I don't think I'm predictable, but you're always beating me. And I said to him, it's not that you're bad at the game or you're a bad player, it's the fact that you're playing a character which a lot of other people are playing, which is Ryu. and it gets to a point where you'll face so many reuse that you're kind of like, all right, he's gonna do this. I'm gonna expect him to do that, or he's probably gonna do this. So I said to him, it gets to a point where I'm going into the match expecting you to do certain things. I have an expectation of you, and if you live up to the expectation, I will know how to deal with it. And then if you haven't really taken it a step further, then you're kind of stuck against me. And I say this to Jago players in Killer Instinct. I say the exact same thing. What really makes you different from the norm of a Jago player? Like, what will make me look at a Jago player and go, that's your Jago, not a Jago? And I don't think a lot of people actually think about it this way. They just play the character and they just play and they're just like, yeah, blah 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 blah, and then they'll get stuck somewhere and they're just like, oh, where am I losing? If you're playing a popular character, then that means everyone's gonna have a lot of experience against them, and then they all get used to them. And so that makes it a lot harder. Also, Jago is the most, in quotation marks, normal character in the game, so it can be hard to differentiate yourself from the normal group of Jago players. But it's you can look at it in any profession, not even just video games. For every profession or sport or whatever, there's always going to be these couple of people which separate themselves from the rest, and they have some sort of particular trait. So in video games, like if we take Killer Instinct, for every character, there's always these top players that have somehow broken the barrier and that you can look at them and be like, for example, if you take Glacius, that's a Filth Rich Glacius. If you take Jago, that's a Grim's Jago. If you take a Thunder, that's Rico's Thunder. If you take Riptor, that's Paul B's Riptor. They've done something to break the barrier, and they've worked on it. So it's not, doesn't just apply to video games. There's something, and there's always going to be that person that stands up from the rest. But they had to do something. They started somewhere. So it's kind of like, what am I really going to do? Like Bird was talking about, they copy people. Some people will copy people, and I think that's true. People do copy people, and if you copy someone, then you're not really developing your own style of play, in a sense. Like in Street Fighter, when Daigo, people be doing the Daigo or what have you, but then they never understood why he does what he does. He's a smart man. There's a reason he does what he does, and people will just do it without knowing the reason. So you could copy someone, but I think instead of copying someone, I think what people should do is look at what people do and look at it as a blueprint. And then you have a blueprint, you have a foundation to work on. So for me, example, with my Glacius is heavily influenced by Filthy Rich's Glacius. But I'm not Filthy Rich, so I can't do what he does. I don't have his brain. So instead, I looked at what he does and I used it as a blueprint to develop my own style of play. So I said, so that's why I do it. He left the blueprint. You just take the blueprint and you just work on it. Nowadays, people say, yeah, that's a Rims Glacius, not just a Glacius. And I think that's very important. But also, let me just say, but even though you could be different, doesn't mean you're gonna win every match. Like, you could be different, but you can still lose, and that's just reality. Like, you could be the most different Glacius or Volg or Spinal player ever, but you could lose to someone who's just playing very solid and very fundamentally based, and that in itself can be a unique trait as well. Someone could be really fundamentally based, and that could be something that just separates people from others as well. So it kind of works both ways, really. So yeah, that's what I have to say on that bit.
Well, seeing as you told a story, there's a little story that just literally popped to mind as you said that. When I first started getting into playing Killer Instinct, and I met a player called Emperor Warchild, and some of you will know about his Saberwolf. When I first played the Saberwolf, I'd played other Saberwolves, and that was when everyone was like, ban the dog, nerf the dog, you know, season 1 stuff, right? And when I played the Saberwolf, I was like, yo, your Saberwolf is crazy. And just how he played him, everyone was doing rushdown and was just trying to do, but he just played him in such a way, and he did things that I'd never seen any other Saberwolf do. And I remember I spoke to him and I was just like, man, dude, your Saberwolf was really crazy. And he's like, oh, thank you, man. I put a lot of hard work into it. And there were 2 things that really made me say this is a different level of player. Apart from how he played Saberwolf, it was how he thought. And that's one of the main things, is people's mindset. Like, you know, like when I was saying, people just want to get solid and they don't want to get beaten. and they just want to do combos. So they look at who can do it and they'll say, right, let me just copy that now, and that's it. And they'll put some of their personality into it, but not enough to kind of dwell away from what they've taken, because they didn't create that style. And when I spoke to Emperor Warchild, he said to me that I really wanted to get good with this character. He's talking about Sable very, very early on. There was only like 2 Sables about. It was Emperor Warchild, and there's another guy that I know, and he's gonna kill me because I can't remember what his, I know his real name, but I can't remember what his gamer tag is right now. But there was only 2 Sables, and and even those 2 said there's only like 3 of us that are proper Sables, like the ones that people go, ooh, those are the Sables. But basically, it was 2 things he said to me. He said, I want to get really good with this character because I love characters that rush down. But he said, I want to get really good with this character because I've met a lot of top players which are really nasty. And he said, I'm not like that. He said, I want to be good because when I was first playing this game, I met a lot of top players and it was just really nasty to me. And I wanted to say, you know what, I'm going to get good. And then when I get good, I'm coming for you. And that was one of the things. He said, also, I want to be good enough that people look at me, and then when they ask me for help, I can help them. Because he goes, people are going to be attracted to me to play with me because, one, I'm good. But imagine if another Sable player comes up to me, I want to be able to take the Sable player under my wing and help them. And I was like, wow, I've not heard anybody say this in the community. They just want to get good because they want to be the best. But he wanted to be good because he said, you know, when I was trying to learn this game and just be cool, I met top players that were really nasty at tournaments. And when you see people that are top and successful, other people look at them and think, well, if he's like, forgive the word, if he's an asshole, then, and he's good, maybe I should be an asshole and I'll be good. And they'll copy that. People that are good or in successful positions, people copy that and they try to emulate that. And he said he hated the fact that, one, he talked to him like that and he was talking to other people like that. And then 2, he said that people will be inspired by that and think that's the way I should be. And he said, I want to be the other person that you see somebody at the top and really good, but yet they're just a cool, normal person. And he wanted to be that difference. That's the first thing. Then he said he wanted to help other people who may be coming up under him. That's the second thing to his point. The other thing that made me say, when he said it was this. He said, there are people who will play me and they'll see me doing stuff. Like, he was one of the first people I saw do stuff where when you woke up, he did I think it's the back and save wolf, where he lunges forward and it automatically puts him on advantage, or if he holds it, it's unblockable. I think it's back and hard punch. But he was like one of the first people I saw doing that, like on a wake up, and doing it at some odd, really funky times. I was like, huh? And he just stood out because nobody else was doing it. But he said, I went in when I saw this character and said, what do I want to do with this character? How do I think the game developers designed this character to be played? And he understood that. Then he said, now what do I think I can do with the tools that they've given me that I think I can do that will mess with people's head? What can I do immediately to mess with people's head? And then what can I do that's got like an A, B, and if I get B, then I can go on to C. But if I don't get C, I can go back to B and then go to C and D. That's how he looked at it, almost like a mathematician. And then he was like, okay, right, cool. So I know how I feel this character's been designed. Now I know how I want to play. Then I want to put my own personality in there and do things that only I would do. So he's done 3 things when looking at his character, how he felt the developers made the character to be played. Then he said, right, what do I think I can do with the tools that are given me that I want to do with this character? Then he said, right, how can I put my own personality, my own flair, and my own way that I am? Then the last thing he said to me, which really hit home and I've never ever forgotten, and it's what I use in any character that I pick up in any game. He said that when people see my Sable now, I see people copying things that I created. I didn't get them from anywhere. I created these techniques. He said people can copy what I do, but because they don't know how I came up with them, all they can do is copy what I do. If what I do and what they've copied doesn't work, they have no other game plan because they didn't create the technique. They didn't create what I'm doing. If I create something and I look at it as it's part A, I say if that doesn't work, I've got a part B or a plan B. And then if I get plan A, part B, part C, I've got a part D. You can only do that when you're the creator. You can only do that when you're the person who's done that and who knows what to do, and then you can further it. If you're just copying somebody else's findings, you never know where that finding stemmed from. You've not been creative enough to create it, so what makes you think you can be creative enough to further it? If all you ever do is see somebody and think, oh my god, that's amazing, stealing it, that's it. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I've been struggling to get past maybe like Khan Ra with that move, thank you. A Sable players helped me to understand one move I can do to beat that. That's not a problem. But when you just go and jack a whole person's style, and now you think you're the business because, and there was a lot of Sablewolves in season 1 jacking Styles thinking that they were the one and the business, and that was not the case. Because then once they met somebody who could shut that style down, they didn't play the game anymore, or then that's when they would pick Jago, no offense, or whatever, so they can jump on. So all they're doing is, right, I'm gonna steal tech, and then when I hit a wall, I'm gonna say, right, that character that I can't beat needs to be nerfed, right, that character now that I play, that I can't get further with needs buffs, or when they hit that wall and they can't get past that wall, right, let me go to the next character, because that will be the promised land character that will take me to beating everybody. It's a particular kind of mindset that people that take people's tech, that aren't creative with characters, that can't put their own flair and their own personality into a character, they all have, and I've seen it.
And I think it's important to remember that you should play a character that you enjoy. I think more often than not, when people play their character and enjoy it, they're able to break this wall easier, rather than they pick a character because they're top tier. Sometimes you get players like that. They'll pick a character because they're top tier, and because it's to do with their player traits, they can just push the character as far as they can. But from what I've seen, when top players play a character, and it might be a low tier character, but they do extremely well, it's because they generally enjoy the character. I'll be honest, if I wanted to win tournaments and I was trying to be competitive at this game, like really competitive, I would not be playing Glacius. I'm just being very honest. I would not play Glacius. I'd play someone else. But I play Glacius because when I first looked at Killer Instinct and I saw Filthy Rich play Glacius, but like, this looks like a character I would want to play, and then I just stuck with it. And also I feel I can insert my personality into this character more, and I think that's helped me become different. If I feel I can't insert my personality or my style into a character, then I won't play them, because I just feel like I'm doing the same thing as everyone else. But if I can insert myself into a character and my style and make it show in my gameplay, because I always say let the gameplay do the talking, and if I can let the gameplay do the talking, then I basically accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And I think that's something that's very important. You should let your gameplay do the talking. And also one mindset that I take, it depends usually on what character you use, but one mindset that I take, and this is mainly speaking to people who use a lower tier character, is, I always say, play your character like he's not going to get buffed, like he's not going to get any sort of adjustment. Play your character like this is the final end game character you have, and that's it. Because I think too many people in this game and also in other games, I think too many people nowadays, they play a match and they might get beaten or something, and they might be like, oh, nerf that, or I need buffs. And by doing that, unless there's something blatantly wrong, like something just wrong, and you look at it and it's like, right, that really needs to be taken out. But some people are like, oh, nerf buff, and by doing that you're stopping yourself mentally, in my opinion, from developing yourself as a player. I got to a point with Glacius and I was just like, maybe I should drop this character. Maybe it wasn't for me. But then I just thought to myself, because I know a lot of Glacius players ask for buffs, and they're like, oh, Glacius needs this and Glacius needs that, and I look at that and I'm just like, yeah, I could give my input as well, but I just thought to myself, is it really going to happen though? I thought, let me just be realistic. The things that I think he needs, are they really going to happen? So in the end I just thought, instead of just thinking, yeah, let me just shout until he gets a buff, I just thought, let me just take this character, look at the character, thinking to myself, this character is not going to get buffed and he isn't going to get what he needs, so let me just look at it and see what I can do. And that's what I did. And by doing that, I'm able to find ways to compensate, if I can, for a character's weakness with myself. Like I always feel that the player should carry the character, and the character should not carry the player. And if it comes to a point where the player carries the character, then I think then when you get to that point, that's when you've come into your own style. Yeah. Because people will recognize you and you and the character. It's not the character and you. And I think everyone's had those matches where they face the character and it's just like, it's because he's using this character. And I've had matches like that as well. It's like, it's because he's using this character, and it's just like, oh, this is like, oh. And I think that's very important, because you know that there's things that's happening on the screens because they're using that character. So you could say nerf, but you could say, oh, it really needs to be nerfed. But at the end of the day, if you can carry your character, then I think that's an achievement in itself. It's kind of like a race in some respects. Your character starts off first. Your character has the head start, and you're running behind them. And then as you play the game more, as you play with the character, you should be aiming to pass the character and lead the way, rather than have your character lead you. And that's why I say carry the character and don't let the character carry you. And I think that's very important in becoming different, because not many people will just let the character carry them, and then that's the end of that, and they won't really work at anything else. And I think that's what will probably make a top player different when they pick a top tier character. They don't just pick a top tier character and be like, right, that's it. Let me just learn A, B, and C, and that's it. They will pick a top tier character, and they will work with the character and be like, right, let me see what I can do. Let me see what can be done, and they'll just storm ahead from other people who use a top tier character. For example, Spinal. A lot of people are saying, oh, Spinal's top tier, but Spinal doesn't really win a lot of tournaments, and it wasn't until recently Base. That's a perfect example. A character who's top tier, and you didn't really see him. You saw him place him, but you didn't really see him win a lot of tournaments. I don't think he really won any. I might be wrong, but yeah. And Base won the character, and you could tell that when you look at Base's Spinal, that's a Base Spinal. That's Base's Spinal. And I don't think he would be playing that character if he wanted to win. He looked like he played that character because he loved the character. But you got other people who probably pick up Spinal because he's top tier. But you could pick up a character because he's top tier and still not win, because you're still not doing that necessary work. And I think Base, he done that necessary work, and he really worked with that character. And not only is he using a top tier character, but once again he's leading the character. It's not the character leading him. So someone can't turn around and go, oh well, he won because he was using Spinal.
Yeah.
Because that would be silly to say. Because it should be obvious when you look at someone play a character that the level of thought that went into their gameplay. Some people, you will probably see some people and you just think, why would they do that? There's no level of thought. Like, I face people and I don't see the level of thought, but they're using such a good character that certain stuff is going to happen and I'm just going to get hit by certain stuff, and I'm just like, why? But you can face top tier characters, and when you can feel the level of thought coming from them, like for me, like when I faced in season 1, when I faced Wolf, like when I faced a good Wolf player, as much as I despised the character, I couldn't at the end of the day, I couldn't go sit down and be like, oh well, he's using Saber Wolf. I can see the level of thought and I can see how good he is. It's not the character, it's him, and the way he's using them. So yeah, that's what I would have to say on that point.
All right, so literally, thank you everybody for listening. We'll be coming to you with more podcasts. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please let us know. Bye for now.
Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Visit us on our social networks. Click next video or click the previous video.